Alright, before you guys destroy me in the comments for the video title, I admit it's a little clickbaity, just how the game works if you're putting out videos on YouTube. But I promise there is something of actual concern to talk about here. Probably not going to affect everyone to the same degree, but still, I think it's worth talking about. Appreciate your patience. You may have heard about Warframe's classic rendering engine being phased out in favor of the enhanced version, perhaps right before or at the time Duviri goes live. Don't quote me on that, though I think it's a safe bet that we're losing the old engine option with Duviri, whether that's in 2023 or who knows, right? This ain't exactly a new thing, going back to 2020 I believe, but it was recently mentioned again in a dev stream a month or two back. Didn't have the time to cover it then, but with some recent trends I feel like it's still a relevant talking point. Also, I'm not sure on the extent of graphics customization in Warframe on consoles, so this video may be more catered to the PC crowd. If you'd be so kind to let me know down in the comments whether consoles also have the option to switch between the classic and enhanced rendering engines, I'll give you a heart. And just a gentle reminder that if you do enjoy regular Warframe content, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to turn on notifications so you don't miss any videos. So why is the classic rendering engine being discontinued? To put it simply, it allows for the devs to save on time and resources with only having to build and optimize for one rendering engine. And also the enhanced one allows for stuff like more accurate reflections and asset rendering, things that are either too difficult or nigh impossible to achieve with the classic counterpart. That's all good and dandy, but I'm sure most if not all of you guys are aware that shinier graphics is almost always not a free lunch scenario. I expect there to be a revision to the minimum system requirements, and yes, I know it's been said that the impact to performance would be minimized by the time the transition point arrives, and more on this a little later. I do want to point out that the current system requirements are frankly ridiculously low. Personally, I can't verify how well Warframe runs on these specs because I don't really have hardware that old, but I'm pretty sure the enhanced engine would not be very happy. But if the developers do manage to optimize the coming improvements to a degree that's still scalable all the way down to quote-unquote toasters as has been stated, then maybe this entire thing is a non-issue. It used to be that most people on Steam, according to its own data, were running GTX 1060s, and yes, that data is not perfect, but it is a pretty good indicator in my opinion. Anyways, the venerable GTX 1060 is no longer the people's GPU, if you will. That crown now belongs to the GTX 1650, which is a much less capable graphics card. No offense in any way, times have been not great, let's say, as of late, with the companies thinking it's cool to raise prices when people have less money to spend. Price of computer components are ridiculous. But my point is the enhanced engine in its current state can be a little heavy, and I worry that a move to higher system requirements may put off some people from playing Warframe over another game and potentially hurt the player count. It's not like Warframe on PC is at an all-time low or anything. It could even be the opposite, with crossplay bringing in players from across the pond, improving the matchmaking experience. But if Warframe's player base takes a significant hit, I might even have to think about transitioning to a different game, which is not a fun idea, because I've tried in the past and the algorithm really does not like that. If you thought this channel doesn't really have an audience, you should have seen the time when all I posted was random stuff trying to get anything to hook. Another point I want to touch on is the necessity of updating the graphics of Warframe. I've gotten multiple comments on videos in the past asking what settings I used because the game looked great. The B-rolls may look great because I use a vignette filter and sometimes, oftentimes not, mess with the contrast and saturation for certain scenes. Other than that, I actually have some of the settings turned down. For one, I kinda prefer the classic engine over the enhanced. Yes, it does look overall better with the latter, but I find the screen space reflections implementation to be a little more on the distracting side, and it's hard to say no to more FPS when I'm going with the classic renderer, which in my opinion looks good enough. And some of the other settings like bloom and particle density you almost have to turn down or disable, I feel, because otherwise the rainbow puke on screen is just unbearable. Special mention for Statacore users. Of course, this is entirely subjective, so please do share your own thoughts down in the comments. Do you guys place great weight on graphics in a game like Warframe? I understand that to show Duviri in its best light, you gotta, well, upgrade the game's lighting basically, but I kinda worry for the bump in requirements. If the game will still run on like a GT 1030, I guess it's okay. If the minimum gets bumped up to something like a GTX 970, then I think we'll get some complaints. Do you guys think I'm completely off base here, or making a mountain out of a molehill? Let me know down in the comments. Otherwise, check out some of the other videos on this channel if you're new. If you'd like to support the type of content that gets put out here, consider tipping on YouTube or visit the merch store. Or join the Discord, completely free. You might even be able to find some farming buddies in there. Links are all in the description. Thanks for watching, have a good day.